At the end of the new Sith Wars, the Sith underwent a radical transformation. Under Darth Bane, they adopted the rule of two and faded into the shadows, allowing the Jedi to believe themselves victorious. But before Bane took over the Sith, they were led by a man with a wildly different vision, Lord Kaan, the last Dark Lord of the new Sith. Kaan had reunited the Sith after a century of bitter infighting during the Dark Age of the Republic, and in the last of the new Sith Wars, he very nearly brought down the Republic for good. But he had several fatal flaws, which prompted Darth Bane's total reconstruction of the Sith. In this video, we'll be telling his story.
Attention, Sergeant on deck!
After 900 years of war between the new Sith cult and the Republic, galactic civilization had all but collapsed. What followed was a century-long Dark Age in which most of the galaxy was left to fend for itself. This period was the most chaotic in known galactic history. On one side was the Republic, which had been reduced to a shadow of its former self, while on the other were the new Sith, who were unable to take advantage of the Republic's vulnerability as they were too busy destroying themselves. In 1100 BBY, after centuries of devastating victories against the Republic, the Sith were on the verge of taking Ruusan itself, but they fell apart as their leaders squabbled over the title of Dark Lord of the Sith. For 100 years, most of the galaxy was abandoned by both the Sith and by the Republic. Some were left completely undefended, while others came under the protection of the Jedi Lords, powerful knights and masters who became like feudal lords, administering sectors and building their own personal armies to fight off pirates and Sith incursions. The Jedi Lords held galactic civilization together, but they were mavericks, rarely acknowledging orders from the Jedi Council and regularly bucking the Order's doctrines when they disagreed with them. For this reason, the Council really didn't like the Jedi Lords and only tolerated them because the galaxy sincerely needed them at the time. The people of the galaxy, on the other hand, had a different perspective. The Jedi Lords were widely recognized as heroes, especially the likes of Lord Hoth, who used their power to take the fight to the Sith wherever they could. Many of the younger Jedi began to admire Hoth and the other Jedi Lords, and fearing that the Order was about to fracture, the Jedi Council selected a champion of their own to lead against what was left of the Republic military against the encroaching Sith, a Jedi Master named Skara Khan. Khan was born a commoner on Ruusan in the middle of the Dark Age, but his strong connection to the Force saw him recruited into the Jedi Order at a young age. He became one of the Order's most promising students, gifted with a powerful tie to the Force, an excellent grasp of strategy and economics, and the rare art of battle meditation. He rose rapidly through the ranks, eventually attaining the title of Jedi Master. The Council loved him, even though he held the radical view that the Republic and the Jedi were responsible for the chaos of the Dark Age. They turned a blind eye to this belief, probably because he wasn't wrong, and sent him out to lead a counter-offensive against the Sith anyway. You'll never guess what happened next. Not long after leaving Ruusan to fight the Sith, Master Khan decided to jump ship and take all of the Jedi Knights under his command along for the ride. He became enamored with the teaching of the Sith, fell to the dark side, and converted his followers as well, forming yet another Sith faction. Skara Khan claimed the title of the Dark Lord of the Sith, but he was far from the only aspirant Dark Lord in the galaxy at the time. Ever since the start of the Dark Age, dozens of claimants had been fighting each other over that title, wasting the strength of the Sith in petty internal squabbles instead of fighting the Republic. Khan believed that this nonsense was self-destructive, and he set out to unite the Sith under one banner. His, of course. Khan didn't just join the fight and try to conquer all of his rivals, however. He made a pretty radical change to the ways of the Sith. His faction dramatically walked back the core Sith idea of the rule of the strong. Khan wanted his rivals to join him, and to convince them, he offered them all the title of Dark Lord of the Sith. All Sith Lords who joined him, he proclaimed, would be equals. Several Sith Lords were drawn in by this promise, and they pooled their forces to form the Brotherhood of Darkness. In short order, Khan and his allies absorbed or destroyed all of the other Sith factions, finally reuniting all of the Sith under one banner for the first time in nearly 1,000 years. Khan's Brotherhood of Darkness is unique among galactic history's many Sith factions for how relatively un-Sithy it was. Khan placed fierce restrictions on internal competition within the Brotherhood, fearing the infighting that had crippled the Sith in the past, and he was true to his word in allowing all of the Brotherhood's leaders to claim the title of Dark Lord of the Sith, though he was a de facto first among equals. He gave the new Sith order and regimentation on a scale that they had never really seen before, and he forbade the usage of the title Darth, blaming it for much of the infighting that the Sith had endured. Lord Khan reformed the Sith into what was essentially an evil Jedi Order, and in many ways, the Brotherhood of Darkness could be considered Sith only in name. Unfortunately for the galaxy, the distinct un-Sithiness of the Brotherhood made them a much greater threat. All of this was a major embarrassment for the Jedi Council, who decided to take the L and stick to holding what was left of the Republic together while the Jedi Lords dealt with the Sith going forwards. Just kidding. Even after Khan fell to the dark side and began building the Brotherhood, the Council still refused to see him as a threat, seeing him as a lesser evil that was doing them a favor by making the Sith less Sithy. They even sent him formal congratulatory thanks for killing the worst of the Sith warlords during his rise to power, which is simultaneously a wonderfully petty backhanded compliment and beyond pathetic for an order that should have known better by this point. Fortunately for the galaxy, however, Lord Hoth and his pals saw Khan and the Brotherhood for the threat they were, and they set out to stop them. Hoth and the other Jedi Lords formed the Jedi Grand Council, not to be confused with the Jedi High Council, and pulled all of their forces to form the Army of the Light, which went to war with the Brotherhood of Darkness in 1010 BBY. For 10 years, the two sides battled in the War of Light and Darkness, the great climax of the new Sith Wars. Both sides dealt the other devastating defeats. Lord Khan's tactical genius and his skill of battle meditation allowed the Brotherhood to retake Korriban from the Republic and re-establish a Sith Academy there, while the cunning and doggedness of Lord Hoth allowed the Army of Light to capture Ruusan, the Brotherhood's capital. The war was bloody and raged all over the galaxy, and it was very closely matched. The Army of Light and Brotherhood of Darkness were about as strong as each other, and Lords Khan and Hoth were both brilliant generals with a slew of gifted followers. For most of the war, Khan tried to push forward, hoping that if he finished off the vulnerable Republic, the Army of Light would be greatly weakened. Hoth mostly just attacked the Sith wherever he found them, frustrating Khan's attempts at forward offensives. This pattern eventually led the two factions into a last series of pitched battles on a remote mid-rim world Khan wanted to use as a staging ground for the invasion of the Greater Core, Ruusan. 7 battles were fought at Ruusan between the Jedi and the Sith, with the Jedi winning some and the Sith winning others. Neither side seemed willing to let the planet go. After spending 10 years fighting all across the galaxy, both Hoth and Khan seemed determined to end it all at Ruusan. The army and the Brotherhood gathered all of their forces at Ruusan. Every Jedi Lord and their armies flocked to Hoth's camp, while Khan summoned every Sith Lord in the galaxy to fight. Khan believed he could crush Hoth and his followers at Ruusan, giving him a clear shot at the core. With the help of the Jedi traitor Geetsly, Khan was able to deal several damaging blows to the Army of the Light, but his own armies took heavy casualties as well. By the end of the campaign, both armies were so depleted that those among them who didn't carry lightsabers were forced to resort to using bows and spears instead of blasters for lack of ammunition. Additionally, as the Ruusan campaign dragged on, some of Khan's followers began to question his leadership. Foremost among these Sith was a man who called himself Darth Bane. Bane, as his chosen title would suggest, was sharply critical of just about everything Lord Khan did, and argued that Khan was fighting the Ruusan campaign like an ordinary commander instead of a Sith Lord, relying on unconventional tactics instead of the Force. Khan tried to have Bane killed, but these attempts failed, leading Bane to proclaim Khan unworthy of the title of Dark Lord. However, Bane offered Khan a peace offering and advice on how to crush the Jedi. He introduced Khan to a devastating Sith technique called a thought bomb, and on his suggestion, Khan and the Sith assembled a meditation circle during the 7th Battle of Ruusan, calling on the dark side to rout the Army of Light. This ritual did severe damage to Hoth's forces, but Khan and his followers broke the circle prematurely, taking their speeder bikes to charge the retreating Jedi army. Part of this was impatience, but part of it was also jealousy. Khan and the other Sith Lords were wary of how powerful Bane had become, and they were all unwilling to accept his rule. Unfortunately for Khan, his charge was a terrible idea. The Jedi turned and counterattacked, and they received reinforcements mid-fight from Valentine Farfalla, who had left Ruusan earlier to recruit more Jedi Knights. He returned in the nick of time with 300 additional Jedi, completely turning the tide of the battle. The Brotherhood of Darkness was badly routed, and most of the Sith Masters were killed, forcing Khan to retreat deep into Ruusan's canyons. There, even as the Sith crumbled around him, Khan refused to surrender. Driven to madness by his refusal to accept defeat, he led the remaining Sith Lords deep into a cave and led them in creating a thought bomb, a powerful force weapon that consumed the souls of all living beings within a large radius. Khan, in his delusion, believed that he and his followers were powerful enough to be able to resist the thought bomb's effects. He was, of course, wrong. Even as Lord Hoth and 100 Jedi rushed into the caves to stop him, Khan detonated the thought bomb with a clap of his hands. And he and all of his surviving followers were consumed by it alongside their Jedi foes. So ended the 7th Battle of Ruusan, and so ended the story of Lord Khan. Just a decade after he reunited the Sith, he wiped them out with the clap of his hands, or rather, he almost wiped them out. Just one Sith Lord survived, Darth Bane, who had manipulated Khan into wiping out the Brotherhood so he could take control of the Sith. Disgusted by the failures of Khan's Brotherhood, Bane led the Sith in a completely different direction under the rule of 2. Lord Khan was remembered by future generations of Sith as an arrogant failure. So that's the story of Lord Khan, the last pre-Baneite Dark Lord of the Sith. But what do you think? Do you agree with Khan or Bane on the proper way to organize a Sith Order? Free to post your thoughts in the comments section below. As always guys, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.